Hi, my name is Tanner Hughes, and this is my presentation on my organizational analysis done over the Oklahoma Office of Management and Enterprise Services, or OMES for short, and specifically the Information Services Division inside of OMES. This organizational analysis was done using the McKinsey 7S framework. The McKinsey 7S framework uses 7 pillars: strategy, structure, systems, styles, staff, skills, and shared values to help leaders analyze and identify where it is that they may need improvement or what they're doing well. So a little introduction on OMES. OMES is a state agency that was founded in 2011 by House Bill 1304. House Bill 1304 set out to consolidate IT in every state agency across the state of Oklahoma into one centralized IT shop. This was OMES. Consolidation, however, in OMES in the beginning days made it a bad name for OMES because the original leadership decided to go and take IT resources and IT devices by force and really did not work to make sure that the business continued to operate for the different agencies. And so, just to be transparent, I've been employed with OMES since 2013, and I've held several different positions inside of OMES, including technical positions, leadership positions, and now I'm in an architect position. So let's talk about the first pillar in the McKinsey 7S framework, strategy. Political changes due to the governor changing or other things that happen politically have caused revolving strategies inside of OMES. And many of these strategies never have really been fully implemented because the leaders have not spent a lot of time in leadership. Current strategy, it was implemented by the previous director, and even that was not fully implemented. However, with the new governor, we have a new goal to be a top 10 state, and we've been appointed a new deputy director. His name is Stephen Harp, and his goal is to serve those who serve Oklahomans, and that aligns directly with being a top 10 state that the governor's put in place. Stephen Hart is using the Kurt Lewin's change model, which basically says that we're going to unfreeze, change, and then freeze. When Stephen Hart started a little bit over a month ago, he unfroze slowly by integrating this new mission, stating that we would be serving those who serve Oklahomans. Next, during our change process, he opened up an invitation to everybody to say, hey, what do we want to do to be a top 10 state? And this really makes that change, the employees change. It makes it the organizations change instead of his ideas. And that buy-in is very important, especially since he sees the culture in our organization and OMES being that they have the right tools to do the job. And so he doesn't really want to change the culture. He just wants to set initiatives and strategy towards getting to where he wants to go. The last phase will be a freezing, which will be basically when we implement the changes and then monitor those effects. OMES is also used to adjusting to change. One of the things that they do to adjust to change is a market analysis to analyze the rates charged to agency customers yearly. And this allows them to look at different states and different things in the private sector to make sure that the rates that they're charging are the right rates and they're not overcharging for what they're doing. Ever-changing requirements due to legislative changes requires OMES to be dynamic and flexible. And we do that by partnering with customers and helping them be malleable with their systems when legislative changes happen. For example, State Question 788 brought the health department to a conundrum where they had to go and implement a medical marijuana system in 60 days. OMES partnered with the health department, and they were able to deploy a very successful medical marijuana licensing system where they were able to raise $2 million within the first day. Next, we're going to look at structure. When OMES consolidated with House Bill 1304, we basically combined 5 different divisions. That was Information Services Division, the Employee Benefits Division, Human Capital Management, Employee Group Insurance Division, and Department of Central Services. For this presentation, we're going to be primarily focused on the Information Services Division. So the structure at the top is hierarchical. You have the director of OMES, John Budd. You have our deputy director over ISD, which is Stephen Harp. Then you have the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, and his name is Bo Reese. Bo Reese also has a direct line to the governor because he is appointed by the governor. Underneath Bo Reese are the different directors inside of the organization. At the middle level, there's structure too. You have the directors on top. You have supervisors that work directly underneath the directors. Then you have the resources underneath. So you'll have a tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1 generally in all of these different environments until you get to mission support. Mission support, there's account executives and there's service delivery representatives. And that's because that's all there is needed for mission support. In the technology strategy pillar, there's 3 different categories of employees. You have project management office, you have the IT strategists or directors in the different agencies, and then you have enterprise architects. One thing that OMES does really well is builds functional temporary teams. These different teams are built to handle initiatives and projects and are disbanded whenever they're done. The team leadership for these different teams consists of project managers, the agency IT strategist or their director, and the enterprise architect. The enterprise architect makes most of the technical decisions, and a lot of the business decisions are made by the agency IT strategist or their director. Then you have different resources such as your technology services engineers, your application administrators, your client experience technicians, your security engineers, and your business analysts. The nice thing about these functional teams is that you will always have the right resources for what you need to complete the project or initiative. This is because when these teams are built, they are selected by a committee that looks at the needs of the different projects and make sure that the right resources are assigned. Next, we're going to look at the systems that OMES uses. There are 3 categories of systems: enterprise, agency, and monitoring. For the enterprise that supports the entire state, there's a human resources system, a payroll system, and a financial system. In OMES, there's a productivity tool called Office 365 for communications, email, file storage, collaboration, and so on. There's an IT project management tool, and this is because in House Bill 1304, there's 1,500 state agency IT projects that had to be consolidated and work that OMES was then charged to make sure happened. And so those are all tracked through the IT project management tool. There's also a help desk ticketing tool that OMES uses. For monitoring, there's a tool called SolarWinds and Microsoft System Center, and both of those monitor the actual performance of the systems that are inside the OMES data center. There was a cool thing that was built, the IT Operations Control Center, or ITOC for short, that uses SolarWinds and System Center to do real-time tracking of all of the systems. So whenever a system goes down, most of the time it's the ITOC calling the different agencies saying that, hey, your system's down and we're working on fixing it right now. This helps continue the operations across the different agencies. In the courses, the individual organization and society, and markets and stakeholders, I learned that it is important for values to be clearly and publicly available. The importance of stakeholders is when someone has a vested interest in an organization, they need to know that making the commitment is the right thing to do. Publicly displaying those core values can lead to stakeholder understanding how the company will make decisions on their vested interest. So this led me to go look for the core values in OMES and if they were on the website or not. The closest thing I was able to find was on their branding page. And basically, on the branding page, it says that the logo is the center of the core values. What it says is the O shows our agency's connectivity and spirit of collaboration. The logo is lean, modern, progressive, and shows our efforts to be a technology-driven, forward-thinking agency. Well, that doesn't really sound like core values that I know of as working there for several years. And so I really started to have to start asking my questions, what are the shared values? As an employee, I was able to go find on the website several different places where I thought core values may be, but there was no real consistency for anything that was publicly published. And there was nothing widely communicated to all the employees to where they were working off the same sheet of music. However, I have been told that there's some core values being made as part of the organizational restructure discussed in the strategy section. Next, we're going to talk about style. In 2013, getting a hold of a manager was difficult. We used to joke about putting heart rate sensors inside of offices to see if leadership was there or not. Getting in front of leadership was hard, and this made it competitive for the different employees to get in front of them because they wanted to basically get their time first, and whenever they had their time, they had to make sure that everything they had was meticulous and right. One thing that changed the style pretty much overnight was the implementation of the Operations and Intelligence Brief. The O&I, for short, is a virtual meeting that everybody in the OMES organization gets onto every day at 10 o'clock to talk about different issues and different things going on inside the organization. The idea came from a book that General McChrystal wrote, Team of Teams, that discussed breaking down the hierarchy in the military between people who had intelligence and the top levels who needed it. This implementation pretty much made the culture at OMES a very collaborative one overnight. Next, we're going to talk about the staff at OMES. According to Gardner, government IT organizations should have 3.9% of the staff of the total customer base to support the entire customer's needs. That means for OMES that there needs to be 1,326 employees. However, at the time of this review, there was only 641 employed, which means that they were 51% down. This starts causing something that we like to call jack of all trades but master of none, where people start filling in the gaps but don't really become specialized on anything. That leads us into skills. A majority of the skills at OMES are technical. It didn't always start that way, however, it evolved due to gaps in competencies as consolidation happened, and basically those closed quickly out of necessity and the motivation to help our agencies be successful. Customer service is also ingrained in every pillar throughout OMES. Skill gaps do occur whenever technicians are promoted to leadership because there's no real way to get raises inside of OMES other than promotion. So in conclusion, I found success with structure, systems, skills, and style. And I think OMES needs improvement in shared values, strategy, and staff. So let's start with what OMES needs improvement in. First off, shared values are pretty much non-existent, which is bad because that's the center of the McKinsey 7S framework, and without them, everything else is supposed to fail. So it makes me ask, how are they still working? How are things just not on fire? I think one of the biggest things after working there is that everyone kind of works off the implicit value that you just got to get everything done and make sure that customers don't fail and you make the right decisions. While this isn't really reassuring for the public or the stakeholders, I think it just happens. So building trust is one of the big shared values that is definitely implicit. Next, the strategy section is getting better. It's not there yet, and it doesn't really have a good structure for success in the future either. And this is mainly due to the variety of directors that move in and out of the organization. I believe that with different governors, this position is going to change over and over again, which means that the leadership is going to change in 4 to 8 years. And if leadership doesn't really understand that they need to implement something that's going to stick within 4 years and have it really, really, really ingrained in the organization and to their culture, it's just not going to happen. And so I think right now with the leadership that they have a really good idea of how to do this, but without them understanding the 4-year time limit, it's just going to fail and continue to be on the needs improvement side. The staff, they're good, they're resilient. The problem is they need to hire more. They're 51% down of what it is that they need to actually help their customers out, and this is a big problem. On the success side, the structure, building the teams of teams, is awesome. Temporary teams is actually on the highest of the maturity level. Systems is great. There's a wide variety of systems to help different levels of the organization. The skills is awesome. The technical skills is what's needed. I think a little bit on the needs improvement side could be fixed with maybe a mentorship program or something to help guide those technicians into getting raises or some change on that level. And then the style is perfect. The operations and intelligence brief, making a cooperative style and culture is exactly what the organization needed. And thank you for watching my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at thughes11@uco.edu. I appreciate your time.